Hello.
How are you?
Good.
Awesome. Thank you so much for speaking with me real quick. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
So I am recording now, just to let you know, and I'm going to be muting myself just so I can hide the background when you're speaking. First, the easiest question. Can you say your name, spell it for us, and your position with the DNR?
Brian Roll, Roell, wildlife biologist, large carnivore specialist.
Awesome. So can you talk to me about, unfortunately, what just happened recently with that gray wolf in Calhoun County?
Yeah, so it was brought to our attention that a large canid was harvested. We don't know the exact date when it was harvested, but in late January, photographs were circulating around social media. I was contacted by a biologist from the Lower Peninsula and asked me to look at the pictures that were being circulated. So at that time, I felt that there was a high likelihood that the animal indeed was a wolf and not a large coyote. So we got samples from the animal and we were able to get genetic confirmation that the animal in question is indeed a Great Lakes wolf. So we can't tell which state it came from, but it is unique to the Great Lakes. And so it's not a Western wolf or anything like that. Uh, so at this time, we don't really know how it got there. It may have been natural. We've had wolves get to the Lower Peninsula in the past, however, very rare. Um, but it's an active investigation still to find out how this animal was harvested, exactly when was it harvested, and how it may have got to that point. The main takeaway from here, very rare, very if it did get there naturally, we don't have a wolf population per se in the Lower Peninsula. They are restricted to the Upper Peninsula. So this is not something folks have to worry about or anything like that. But wolves and other large predators are capable of very long distance movements. And we've seen that with wolves in the Upper Peninsula going to other states. Years ago, we had one make it to Missouri. Just more recently, we had one of our wolves show up in Manitoba, Canada. So they can do some extremely long distance movements.
That actually was going to be my question is about how rare this is. Do you know the last time that this type of wolf or gray wolf in general was spotted in West Michigan or in the Lower Peninsula?
So we had a couple confirmed wolves in the Lower Peninsula. The first one was a wolf in 2004 that was collared in the eastern Upper Peninsula. Actually, it was collared in Mackinac County, and then was later trapped and killed by a coyote trapper in Presque Isle County. We also had some tracks that we do look for wolves in the Lower Peninsula, and we found some tracks that were consistent with what a wolf-like animal might be in 2011 and 2015. But the last confirmed wolf in the Lower Peninsula was actually in 2014. Um, so the Little Traverse Bay Indian group was working on some of their biologists were doing an eagle survey. So they had deer carcasses with trail cameras on them and they picked up what an animal that looked a lot like a wolf, and they were able to collect DNA or scat from that animal, which then again we actually sent in for DNA analysis and confirmed it indeed was a wolf. The fate of that animal we don't know. Since then, no other sightings have been reported to us or documented as wolves being in the Lower Peninsula until this case here.
And I'm not familiar with hunting and with animals in terms of what you can hunt. When it comes to gray wolves, is that an animal that hunters should be hunt or should be able to shoot, or are they like
Uh,
off limits?
They are off limits. They are a federally protected species. So at this time, you cannot legally harvest a wolf in the state of Michigan, or actually any of the Great Lakes states. So they are protected under that Federal Endangered Species Act. This person in this case, we don't know all the circumstances around that yet since it's an active investigation. So I don't really want to speculate on what they thought it might have been or anything like that at this time. But they were reported as hunting coyotes, which would have been legal to do at that time.
So what happens if, like, say, a hunter is out hunting coyotes and they mistake a gray wolf for a coyote? What's kind of the process to not only report that mistake, but also what continues after that?
Well, again, that would be a question for our law enforcement division. But yes, you should report that you may have accidentally taken a gray wolf, and then an investigation would occur. In this instance, like I said, it's still under an active investigation, so I really can't say what may happen or anything like that.
Yeah, the people who are living in Calhoun County that see this story, they might get nervous that there's wolves around, and you had talked about it earlier. But once again, kind of mention what people should be feeling right now that there was a confirmed wolf in their area.
Well, if this wolf did naturally get to Calhoun County, this is very, very rare. This is not something you need to be concerned about. This is not a wolf population establishing itself in the Lower Peninsula, particularly the southern Lower Peninsula, which is really just not suitable habitat for wolves. So that you don't have that fear that now there are going to be wolves anywhere in this area. It's just kind of those one-off things. In recent history, we had a wolverine show up in the Thumb area. A couple of years ago, there was a Canada lynx in the Lower Peninsula as well. So just kind of one of those one-off rare instances. Nothing to be concerned about.
Good. Okay. And I assume that you are a lover of animals. Kind of talk about your reaction to this story.
Sure. Yeah, obviously this is what I do for a career is work with wildlife. I find it more of a curiosity and interesting. If this animal did indeed naturally make it to the Upper Peninsula, or sorry, to the Lower Peninsula, the first thing that crosses my mind is how did it cross all those roads? Those kinds of things. Why? When did it get there? How long has it been down there? All those kinds of questions. It just makes you wonder, and what kind of existence was it living? How did it escape detection? If it's been down that whole time, those kinds of things are just those interesting questions that, unfortunately, we will never know.
And for people who, what are some tips you give people in terms of either hunting or seeing a wild animal?
It's Well, with all wild animals, any wild animal has the potential to be dangerous. It doesn't have to be a large animal. So all wildlife should be treated with respect. When you're hunting, it's kind of back to hunter safety 101. One of the things that are taught at Michigan's hunter safety is know what your target is before you pull that trigger. So if there's a thread of doubt in your mind, you shouldn't shoot that animal. So if indeed if this person, we don't know because like I said, it's an active investigation, but that's just common 101 hunter safety etiquette. And for safety for humans, safety for the animals, that you don't mistakenly take a species that shouldn't be harvested.
Do you know by chance the general area of where this animal's either shot or found?
At this time, all I can say is Calhoun County.
Okay. Is there any questions or topics I didn't bring up that you feel like is really important for people to know about gray wolves or about the situation?
No, really, gray wolves are a misunderstood species by a lot of folks because of the way they're portrayed as even at early age, they're gonna blow your house down, they're gonna eat your grandmother. I kind of call it the Little Red Riding Hood syndrome. They really don't deserve that moniker. They are not a threat to humans. It's very, very super rare that wolves ever attack a person. In fact, until just a few years ago, we could say that in the lower 48 states, there's never been a wolf that even bit a human. Although one did occur now, probably 10 years ago in Minnesota, where we had an injured wolf did bite somebody, but it's super rare. Nothing to be concerned about. You have a far greater chance of getting struck by lightning than you do getting bit by a wolf.
It's good to know because I know a lot of people do have the perception that wolves are bad, but they're just like any other animal at this point.
Yep, they don't want to be seen by people, and they're just afraid of you as they are of you or them.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for speaking with me today. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
All right. Bye.
Bye.